Welcome back, and on your number one breakfast show, News Hub, we have one of the two big discussions around women this morning we're having. We're going to start off with the politics, which is very important, same as development, but it will be great for us to also lay the foundation because those policies and those decisions that have to be made, first and foremost, have to have from people, either they're women in government or they're men who think about women issues and will make those very important decisions, especially around women issues and women development matters. Great to have join us this morning the National Women Leader of the All Progressives Congress, Betta Edu. Great to have you join us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And Dr. Betta Edu also, too, at some point, I remember we had a discussion with you as a Commissioner of Health in across River State. All right, so let's hit off on what the big question we're asking this morning on our Road to 2023 series about what do women in Nigeria want. Many times the discussions have happened. I found out that we've lumped the women in the minority group, and unfortunately, even lumping in the minority group hasn't always provided us answers to the big questions around how the 2023 general elections and its outcome will affect women in the country. But since you're in the politics, since you're women leader in the ruling party, I think perhaps you'll be in the best position to, in summary, if you ask the question, what does the Nigerian woman want? What will it be?
I think simply put, the Nigerian woman needs to be mainstreamed in policy making, mainstreamed in leadership, mainstreamed in governance, mainstreamed in elective positions, mainstreamed in appointments. The Nigerian woman wants to contribute to the development of our country. And I think in a nutshell, that's what we want. We want to take the center stage in contributing to the development of our country. And we believe very strongly going into 2023 with the role which Nigerian women will play in the 2023 elections, we will be mainstreamed.
Dr. Edu, for that. It's so great to see a woman, doing as good as she can in the era of politics. But before we go to the next set of questions, I just want to get you what your journey was like. I mean, being a woman leader in the All Progressives Congress, to some people, it's really a big deal. So how was the journey like? Was it easy for you to get there? What hurdles did you go through?
Okay, so I think God has a way of shaping you for whatever it is He wants you to do. For most part of my life, I've always been a leader as student union government vice president, head of the parliament in student union government as far back as then. Of course, going down to secondary school and even lower, I had several leadership positions. So those build my capacity to be able to function where I am today. I was also the SA Special Advisor to the Governor of Community Health. I was at some point the Director General, the pioneer Director General of the Cross River State Primary Health Care Development Agency before I became the Commissioner for Health, before I became the Chairman of all the Commissioners of Health in Nigeria, up until March when I moved to becoming the National Woman Leader. It wasn't easy because it's new to the political space to have young persons heading the women's wing of a ruling party. This was the first of its kind in any political party in Africa from what I heard. But we, so far, have been able to get more persons, more women to be interested in politics, real professional women to be interested in politics and not see it as just something for any other person out there. So it was a long journey where I was trained at all the various points, mentored by the right set of people, and that is coming to play right now in my new role as the National Woman Leader of APC, the ruling party.
Absolutely. I know it's a big debate oftentimes whether you have women in positions of power and political leadership to make those right decisions, whether they're there or they're not there. But I think we stick with reality here being that you don't have many women in positions of power in government. And so to make those women decisions, oftentimes it's left to the men to do it. But I don't know how you think about it. If you have, I do understand there are several states in this country in fact, more than a handful of states in this country that have no women in parliament. And you also have some of the worst numbers you can imagine in National Assembly, whether the House of Reps or Senate, of numbers of women who are also represented there. You think that in the end they can still make those decisions that will better the lives of women in this country, or would you prefer that you'd have more women in those spaces and then we think that it can then happen? It's
very obvious to institutionalize this whole mainstream elective positions. We have very, very few. You can imagine a National Assembly with just about 17 women, both at the Senate and the House of Reps. It was definitely going to be an uphill task to get legislations that will be in favor of women. It's high time that Nigeria understand that if they must go at a very quick trajectory when it concerns development of our country, then they need to be more inclusive and they need to mainstream women. We had situations where we had 5 bills go to the National Assembly and it didn't scale through because, of course, the numbers were few and the voices were less. If we had more voices, more pressure, more people to do the lobbying for us within, not just the external forces which we're trying to put, would have gotten a better result. So really, at all levels, we need more women. Thankfully, we've increased the number of women in our party that would be running for the elections. We have about 78 female candidates across the country that will be running for this election, and we'll do all within our powers and our might to support them so that they can emerge victorious. We need to have that large number across board. It's just unfortunate that there are some states that don't have any woman running for any elective position at the National Assembly or at the State Assembly, and we want this trend to change. Women have a lot of role to play. We're not just there to sing, dance, be cheerleaders. No, we have to be at the center of decision making, because those decisions will affect us as women, they will affect our children, they will affect our society, and we would be better informed to contribute to those decisions.
A great one there, and it's good to see that the number of women that have been engaged in politics compared to the last election have increased across board, although there is a need to do more. So I want to believe you've had conversations with some of those women who are actually in politics. Some of them who actually left governance or politics due to one issue or the other. On what exactly are the challenges that are, causing the setback of having more women participating in politics?
So I think one of the major challenges I've seen over time is the financial constraint, where many women don't have access to the financial powers they would need or resources they would need to really process an election. Whether we want to agree or not, an elective position is actually very, very costly in our country today. So even in our party, APC, we try to make the forms free of charge for the women just to reduce that cost and get more women interested and attracted to running for elective offices. But beyond the forms, of course, they need to consult, they need to run very expensive campaigns, they need to engage people at different levels, they need to place agents that will watch over their votes and ensure that their votes count, they need to have representatives across board, and they need to do several other programs that would endear them to the voters. So all of this is a whole lot, and it has really kept most women backwards. Of course, beyond the issue of funding, there are issues around culture, there are issues around religion. So there are states in Nigeria that does not have any single woman running for an elective position, and that's because culturally the men will not vote for a woman going to become a Senate, they won't vote for a woman going to the House of Reps, they won't vote for a woman going to the House of Assembly. You hear this every other time, and it's really, really very disturbing. But you depend on that woman for even a survival. You depend on that woman to ensure things work in your state. So you depend on her to get in the votes to go to those places, why do you think she cannot contribute to the development of that state, to the development of our country? Of course, like I said, the religious drawback, the cultural drawback in some places, and then of course the stereotyping, where you say women who are in politics are wayward women, women who are in politics are not decent women, and all of those name leveling, so that you can push the women to the back burner and continue to take the center stage. I think that is not necessary. We are not against the men. We're together with them. We're partners in progress. We're just asking for mainstreaming, a seat at the table. And that's one of the things which make me very, very proud and bold to present our own presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu Asiwaju. He is someone who has supported women at all levels. If you remember when Nigerian democracy was still growing and there was still doubts here and there, he was able to carry a woman as his running mate. He was able to have, I think she was probably the first or the second female deputy governor in Nigeria. And it's been the trend, not just in Lagos, but in the western part of the country, and other parts are beginning to follow suit. Today we have a governorship candidate as a woman in Adamawa under our party, and we believe by the grace of God she will scale through and win her elections. So he has done a whole lot to encourage women, take them into appointments, elective positions, and the rest of it. As I speak, he was very, very central to getting a woman to represent more than half of Lagos State. The Olumusho constituency in the Senate. We have a woman who is going in, and we believe that she's going to win the elections. He's been one who has supported his own wife in the House to become a senator. He's moved her on and on and on. So when you have someone with those kind of track records, women can be comfortable, confident to vote for him, because they know that at the end of the day, he will not just include them, but he will give them a center seat at the table in governance in Nigeria.
All right, I know how passionate you are about the candidate, but you know, we've got about a month to campaign, so we'll have to wait until the campaigns to begin the campaigns, Dr. Edu. But thinking about what you've said, I guess it's very important to realize we've got over 100 million girls and women in this country. I mean, it's simply incomprehensible that you have the 100 million men make the decision for the entire country. I mean, it just makes common sense that we'll have everyone be on the table, you know, to make those decisions. And because who understands the issues better than the people who are directly involved? But, you know, as we head towards the campaign, I'm sure that you've also been hearing the discussions. We've been speaking to party leaders on the important decision we have to make as a people, not to stick to the petty things, but focus on the issue-based campaigns. And we've been rubbing minds on how they can help us, because it's one of the rights and responsibilities of all of us, journalists, the electorate, to have information, to participate in the campaigns also too, and it has to be done the right way. The women, do they have any specific things you expect during the campaigns to be talked about, or is it the same like what people have been talking about, the issues that affect, or you think there's a touch you'd bring into the campaign for women-specific issues?
Yes, I think for us the campaigns are really going to be very strategic going into 2023. We are going to be issue-based. It's not just making the noise, dancing, tying wrappers. No, we'll be very focused on the issues that affect women and the best way we are providing solutions to address them in our country, Nigeria. I think we will not just be basing our campaigns on we will, but we're showing evidence of what has been done and how we're going to build on that, the track records of the candidates in the past and how he's going to build on that going forward. Women have challenges that are directly on them and their children. We'll be bringing in so many angles, the humanitarian angle, we'll be bringing in several angles that have touched lives of women, taken their rights away, angles that women are desperately needing an address for. And these are things which we promise the Nigerian women that we will be doing during this entire period. And then, of course, one very important point is that women will shape the campaigns for women. To get in the female votes, we will shape our own campaigns. So it's not going to be the mass production where several men sit on the table and decide how the campaigns that would get the females' votes will be. No, it will be women shaping their own narrative and addressing those issues and attracting the right voters. Remember that more than 50% of the voting population are usually women in almost all the elections, and we will capitalize on that to deliver our party in the next elections.
Great one. But we know more than half the time women actually are the ones who are championing the cause of politics or governance at the grassroots. With the rappers and dancing and everything, you see them gathering people, talking to them, singing the praises of some candidate as it were, when it comes to even more rural communities. I'm wondering, still speaking on the issues-based side of politics, should there be a need to have to probably speak to those women, train those women, those who didn't go to school, those who really don't understand politics or governance, on how to focus on issues this time around than on just candidates?
So I think we can't separate the issues from the candidates, if you ask me. We are looking at candidates that will address issues, not just issues as standalone. So we are going to be presenting it as such. You know, there are different audience at different levels. Like you've rightly said, at the grassroots, it's mostly the women that drive the entire campaigns, the politic, and the road to governance is usually women that drive it at the grassroots. And we're going to be forming the message in ways, framing them in ways in which different audience can understand and relate. But like we said, it's going to be issue-based. We don't necessarily need to train them. That's the entire women that we're talking to. We'll just train those who will be going to pass on this message so that they can understand their audience and relate appropriately with them. But most importantly is the fact that we'll be advocating, framing, reiterating, and pushing out this message in a way that they can absorb at the different level and they can link themselves up with it. They can be the ones to hold government accountable to say, you said this, you said this, you said this, and this is how we believe you can go to make it work for us. Are you doing it? Are you not doing it? So this is the enlightenment we'll bring to the grassroots level using our strategic campaigns. We're very positive that beyond the rappers, beyond the dance, beyond whatever souvenirs can be presented to whomsoever at the grassroots, Nigerian women would vote for someone who has a track record and who would give them that mainstreaming that they truly deserve.
It's a very tall mountain to try to climb and then overcome eventually, even though I hear it's the mountains that allow people overcome them. After this exclusive interview we had, we're going to have an interview with the Commissioner for Women Affairs in Gombe State, and I'm sure she's listening to many of the things you're talking about also too. But while we wait for the campaigns to begin, oftentimes, and it's great that you have experience in health, you're a medical doctor also too, and then you have a lot of knowledge on how this works for women, especially around the issues of healthcare, which perhaps is number one for lots of women in this country. Maternal and infant mortality are at levels you don't want to even think about. Access to healthcare for women, whether in the urban and rural areas, is a major problem also too. But we found out many times that the candidates, I think to use the word ignorant about healthcare matters is an understatement when they talk to us about what they have healthcare plans for us. But what sort of discussions do you hope to have as a women's leader for the All Progressives Congress with your candidates in saying, this is how the mainstreaming for women issues, healthcare issues for women should be dealt with and should be addressed at the campaign grounds, rather than completely ignored or talked about ignorantly by many of them?
So first and foremost, like I said, this campaign would definitely be issue-based. Part of the issue is the high maternal and infant mortality rates in our country, Nigeria. and how best we can address it as a party, as the governing or the incoming government. How can we best address this? Already there have been that strategic engagement to come up with our manifestos, which would be made public once the campaigns begin, so that the women can understand that your issue A, B, C, D, E, this is the way in which the government would be addressing them when he is elected as president. But more importantly, like we said, it's a full package which will be carrying out during the campaigns. So like you already know, from the women's wing in APC, we have been going around doing financial empowerment for women. We've been going around doing free health outreaches. We've been to Zamfara, we've been to Cross River, we've been to Oshun, we were in Ekiti, we were in several other states trying to provide that free health outreach in areas that are underserved, and then of course providing that financial empowerment and economic empowerment for our women, setting up small businesses, small and medium scale businesses for them. This is what we are already doing before the campaigns. Now, as we move into the campaigns, it's going to be holistic. Like we said, we'll be addressing those issues. So as part of the campaign trail, what are the immediate things that we can do to bring so-called to our women, to encourage them to keep faith with the party and continue to vote for us? And then, of course, telling them the long-term plans that will be addressing these things head on. We know and we are very positive that we have the right candidate, the best that have ever been on the ballot of Nigerian presidential ticket. And we are very positive that he will bring in the best hands, people who are passionate, people who are committed to ensure that women truly get what they deserve wherever they live in Nigeria. Wherever they live in Nigeria. Of course, there are many ways to go around this. We will not be putting all our strategies out here, but you will feel the impact. Nigerian women will feel the impact, and they'll feel that love to come all out and vote for APC as a party.
Absolutely, Dr. Edu. Absolutely, women are looking forward to feeling the impact, not just in politics, but in and from governance as well. I just read out statistics to you. Just over a few weeks ago, specifically July 22, the UNICEF did release figures that out of 10 million out-of-school children in Nigeria, 60% of them are girls. And we find that most of them in rural communities and some part of northern Nigeria, as it were. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, and what, as a woman who is existing in politics, having access to other women in politics, what are the plans of women to ensure that those girls, more girls get educated? Because of course, you know, when they get educated, going into governance is not going to be, you know, so much of a mountain to climb for them.
I think education is very critical to a whole lot of things. It's the bedrock even for healthcare. Women knowing that they have problems and they need to seek for help. If they're educated, they're able to make more informed decisions for themselves, for their children, for their families. Of course, if they're educated, it's easier for them to rise in their leadership roles. So it's easy to say, okay, you've been a director general, you've been a commissioner for health. If I were not a medical doctor, if I were not educated, if I were not a fellow, if I were if I did not have masters and the rest of it, it might be a whole PhD, it might be a whole lot difficult for me to climb that ladder quick, right? So we need this education, even for the basics. Financial empowerment, education is important so that the woman can understand and be able to transact, right? Again, we are stating and we're saying that part of the issues which we will be addressing is the issues of having children out of school, and most of them being women. Of course, you already know that it's difficult to get women into schools across board. The number of men who are educated are far more than the number of women who are educated. In our culture, in some cultures, you find them saying, no, forget about the woman. She'll end up getting married. She'll go to a man's house and the rest of it. So there's no need to invest in higher education. And so it trickles down. It's a double-edged sword all across board, and it's affecting us negatively. It's affecting the development of our country. With these indices that you have called, these numbers which are very glaring, of course, as a party, our candidates will be very deliberate in addressing it. We already know his past records in terms of education in Lagos State. I'm sure you know Lagos State is one of the states where they have free basic education. It's one of the states where the children even go to write WAEC and NECO free of charge. Government pays for it so that you don't have an excuse why you shouldn't be in school. Once you provide those kind of leverage for the Nigerian child across board, there's no reason whether she's male or female that she should not go to school. After all, the burden for paying the fees is no longer on you, the parent. Government is subsidizing for it, and so you don't have any reason to keep her back. And then with enough advocacy, engagement between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Women Affairs, as well as other ministries, you'll be able to pull more of these girls, encourage parents to ensure that they attend school. Of course, other things like feeding program by government and the rest of it will further go to help us reduce the number of out-of-school children. We are very, very positive that the strategies which we have written and which will be made known to Nigerians as we go along during our campaigns will address all of these issues headlong, and we can clearly see that this is where the Nigerian dream is headed, and this is who can help us achieve the Nigerian dream. Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Right, I mean, just cannot stop loving your optimism, Dr. Edu. But if you think about what's happening around the country and all the things that we've had to face, beginning of the Fourth Republic, even before the stretch before that, but of course, majority of the people who are watching are more familiar with the things which have happened from 1999 till date. So there's a lot of expectation on what we hope to see coming in next year. You've referenced some hurdles we've had to scale, and those hurdles sometimes appear insurmountable, whether it's with the patriarchal society which we live in and the religious or cultural norms, oftentimes which have restricted the involvement of women in the ways we hope they should be in politics or with development. It's something you have to do. Give us an idea of some of the interactions you're having in trying to shift the narrative, or cause a shift in paradigm sometimes with the traditional institutions, the cultural institutions, or within the political party where you're in, to create this Nigeria of your dream where you have more women in.
So we're actually working on a whole lot. We're working on a whole lot. It begins with that advocacy and sensitization, engaging key stakeholders that are critical to changing the narratives for women in Nigeria, for women in our party. We're also looking very strongly at those legislative solutions that can make this more sustainable, because you can have a policy that is beautiful, but if the legislation is not there to back it up, it would not be sustained over time. So these are things which we're looking at. In our own party, we are very, very deliberate about mainstreaming women. We are very deliberate about bringing more women to the center, whether it's elective, whether it's appointive. We want to get more women into politics, more women into decision making. And we have all our strategies, which we have deliberated on, identified key stakeholders, started advocacy, even the campaigns for women to support women. Remember that if we go into an election and women vote for just women alone, they will scale through. They will scale through that election. So these are the narratives that we are changing gradually, that women can stand for women, women can support women, women should be there for other women. And we are very, very positive that we'll begin to see the results. We've already started seeing the results. Going through the primaries, like I told you, we had very few women in 2015. We had very few women in 2019. But today we have up to 78 women that have crossed the hurdles of the primaries. Of course, other women supported them and worked for them. And we have support from higher authorities, the president's wife, the wife of the vice president, and indeed other key stakeholders who are members of our party and are interested in ensuring that these strategies come to bear. Wives of governors in our party have also been very, very supportive in pushing the agenda of women. Like we said, I might not be out here reeling out every single strategy that we have in place, but the result is what I want to share with Nigerians that will convince them that we're a party that is gender sensitive, we're a party that wants to mainstream the woman.
Interesting one there. I mean, where there are women issues, but the other side, there are men as well in their lives. I don't know how to say, or if there's anything like behind every successful woman, there's also a man. Permit me to use that for now. I'm pretty sure men have the role to play here. So many men listening to you, and so many who are not given opportune to. I probably might get to listen to this later on. Would need to hear one or two things from women, how they would love to be helped by the men, to thrive in the area of politics and have more women in governance as well.
Like I said, it's not a competition, it's a partnership. Men have critical roles to play in mainstreaming women. Somehow we're in the same ship, tied with the same destiny, and until they understand the amount of help that they can get from the woman, they might not understand the urgency to mainstream them. So we are identifying he for she's, from the president down to our key stakeholders, down to the grassroots. He for she's, men that have supported women to get to greater heights and are still ready to do more. Those are the men who we want to work with as we go into 2023. But more importantly, we want to recruit more men to understand that it's not a competition. We want to recruit more men to understand that we respect, we reverence, we love, and we appreciate whatever effort that is being done to mainstream a woman. You can start by encouraging her from the house. You can start by supporting her. There are no roles that are written, this one is for a man, the other one is for a woman. No. You can start by emotionally supporting her. You can start by ensuring that your woman is out there and she is strong. She's supported financially. She's supported to make the right decisions. She can always run back to you when there are challenges to say, this is what's going on. How best do you think we can work through this? When we have such strong, great men out there, we are really, really very, very encouraged. Like you tried to say, which is not usually the norm, behind successful women, you have men. It must not be their husband, it must not be their family members, it might just be their boss in the office who is the mentor, who is able to raise that woman up, who is able to mentor her, who is able to assist her, who is able to correct her, and who is able to show her the right direction. It might just be a pastor in a church who is able to mentor that woman and push her into where she is supposed to be to fully explore her potentials. So men across board should never feel threatened by a woman's progress, never feel threatened by women wanting to have a seat on the table. We're not asking to push you out of the table. We're saying we can work together and make development more and more better, faster, and even bigger, because we understand more of how things affect the family, how it affects the children, how it affects lives. And God created that motherly instinct in a woman, that nurturing power, ability to create, ability to nurture, ability to push. That resilience is there in the woman. So you can actually leverage on all of these qualities to improve our nation, Nigeria. And I think that's the way men should think. We're partners, and together we can improve Nigeria.
All right, absolutely great speaking with you. It was a pleasure having bright minds and women talk about sort of issues in this sort of pragmatic way. Thank you very much, Dr. Betta Edu, who is the National Women Leader for the All Progressives Congress.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Excellent, and have a great week. All right, we're going to